Star Wars is on the rise, and we are answering your questions.
From the new Disney park ride to what we think is the next for the franchise.
Stick around for your daily charge. Good morning and welcome to the Daily Charge. It is Wednesday, December 11th. I'm Bridget Carey.
And I'm Mike Sorrentino.
And let's go to a galaxy far, far away. Rise of Skywalker opens next week, but today's show talks about the rise of another aspect of Star Wars, the Galaxy's Edge experience in Disney's theme parks, and its brand new attraction, Rise of the Resistance. Now, it's an attraction like no other, and it could change the future of theme park entertainment. The ride opened December 5th last week in Florida at Disney's Hollywood Studios Park. I got a chance to check it out last week at an early preview. And with me today is our resident Jedi Master of an editor, Mike Sorrentino. You've also been to the land, Mike.
I've been, but I haven't gone on Rise of the Resistance, Bridget, and I'm so excited and so glad. Your video was such a great reaction to the whole experience. And
I had a little bit of a geek out, a little bit. We are here today, though, for everyone to geek out about the future of the Star Wars brand, answer your questions about the ride and the theme park, and talk about what's working in the theme park, what's missing, and how it's going to evolve next.
So Disney CEO Bob Iger was just named Time's Business Person of the Year, and he had a very museum-worthy picture of the guy holding the child, a.k.a. Baby Yoda, a.k.a. the only thing anyone cares about from The Mandalorian on Disney+.
That is quite the photo, right?
It's cute.
Good timing today for that. Because Iger's it's a great year for him. All his plans have unfolded with this new franchise. You have Disney Plus with The Mandalorian, the Star Wars content, a ride that is totally different.
We got to go over the ride. You got to tell me.
Okay.
So what was it like the day of when you landed? You got to get to Florida, you get to the park, you get through the tickets. Starts just to go from there.
Oh, man. Okay, so never been before to the Galaxy's Edge land, even though it opened earlier. And with this media event, we got there a day early because I just wanted to see the land. And I wanted to buy some merch, and I wanted to dress the part. And so when you go into Galaxy's Edge, the whole point is that you're a resident of the planet of Batuu, and it's on the far edge of space, where a bunch of, smugglers and bounty hunters and a bunch of, rough and tough gangs might hang out.
It's quite dangerous for Disneyland.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of like where the outsiders go. And so they have a market set up where it doesn't look like a traditional gift shop. You could just buy stuff, and it's supposed to feel like a little outside marketplace. So I got my outfit. And the next day, we really got to check a lot of stuff out. And when the reason the ride itself is so different is because it's kind of like a ride within a ride. It's almost like they made movie sets.
Yeah.
So part of the wait is that you are kind of in this cave where the Resistance is setting up shop, and suddenly there's BB-8. And a hologram of Rey. And you're like, whoa, this is right here in my face. I'm already getting a hologram of Rey giving me my mission order. The doors open, and there's a cast member dressed in the Resistance gear going, come on, we got to get you on the ship because you just found out. And by the way, I just want to say for anyone watching, I am not going to, my intention is not to spoil every detail, but if you want to know nothing, there might be some visual and audio spoilers that I might say. But my goal is to just give you the gist, the overall gist. So the gist is that you are being told, it's not safe for you on this planet anymore, people. You got to get off. They know you're coming.
Too bad you spent $100 to get in there.
Well, and that jives with the general layout of the land.
Yeah.
If you've been before, there is in the corner of this area first order flight has just landed. There's some troopers hanging out. Kylo Ren's walking around, and you have Rey and some Resistance folks also just trying to hide from these stormtroopers who keep asking for ID around the park. I mean, that's what you experienced.
Exactly. As the characters go about, everyone's there's the first order side who are seeking out Rey and finding any bits of the Resistance. And then there's Rey's running around, hiding behind things. There's another character. What's the name of this?
V?
V, yeah, V.
I didn't get to see V, but
she will more openly approach people, but quietly be like, "Can you help us? Can you spy?"
She's
Everyone's
recruiting.
looking for you to spy. Yeah, she's recruiting for the effort. So it's interesting to hear that now it's no, we can't be here any longer. But whereas before it was kind of you could just you were there, you weren't really in danger, but like, yeah, they're riding around.
It was really like the land itself is an active scene because there's no, hey, I want to get Kylo Ren's autograph. No. There's no meet and greet spot. They're walking around and they're messing with people and coming and going and just hanging out for a few hours. Like I saw folks being messed with on and off again. So here you're in ride and suddenly, okay, Rey just got a transmission BB-8. It's like, hey, you got to get you off. There's a cast member telling you part of the action, get into this spaceship to get you off the planet. And lo and behold, in your face is a giant life-size animatronic of a lieutenant. I think his name is Beck. He is one of those calamari fish dudes. Yeah. That's my level of Star Wars fandom. Yeah. Right. You like you asked me the exact type of species. I'm like calamari fish man. Like so. I'm like really loving this the whole enterprise, but I don't always know like every alien species. But you don't need to know every alien species because you're like right there. You're recognizable. Okay. And there's Nine Nub. He's the guy in the movie. Okay, I remember him, and he's piloting, and you're suddenly moving. And so now we're having a mini ride before you even get to the main ride where you're being taken off the planet. Things go wrong. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's Poe Dameron. Oh my gosh, and suddenly you have these stars of the movie talking to you, actions happening all around you, and you're technically in space suddenly.
And you're in this like motion from your video where you're in a standing motion room, right?
Yes, this is kind of Star Tours-esque where it is a motion simulator, but you're all standing in what's kind of like a subway train of sorts. But they're trying to transport you off, and you're caught in a tractor beam, and suddenly, in the same door you came in. The same door opens and you are suddenly, so kind of... Because
you traveled.
Yeah, you traveled.
In the story, you traveled.
Yeah, it throws you off a bit. It opens up on a Star Destroyer with First Order employees, Disney employees dressed like First Order, so they're kind of like actors, going, move along, let's go. You are a prisoner. And you are on you are in this space with just dozens of stormtroopers who are slightly moving because they're animatronics, right? But you have this moment where you're freaking out because you've never seen something so big. You're stepping onto basically a movie set.
And I couldn't tell from your video whether they were like they had some humans peppered in or if it was all just like animatronic and like sitting still. It looked like I feel like they might mix it up to keep the mystery.
One of the groovy things about going on the media day is that I was by myself. That's not an experience folks are going to get. And so I could tell like you had this moment of like what, and you go, wait. No, they're not real, but they're slightly moving a little bit. And you have this giant screen behind you that's outside of space. And they wouldn't tell me much detail about that screen other than it's like their biggest screen that they have. I'm like, yeah, I figured it's pretty big. And this is an area where you're going to be hanging out and waiting until you get to the next point. So yeah, you're a prisoner and that's suddenly part of the story. So we call it about a ride versus an attraction. This is now an attraction where like you feel like you're in the movie and it gives you the shakes a little bit. Then you're being escorted deeper into a prison holding cell, which I didn't get to show on video. And eventually something happens where you're now on a ride part, like it's supposed to be like something that transports the soldiers
and even
around.
Though you're in a prison, not to detract too much, but it's like still Disney sparkling clean, like right? Like it's not like a
you're not in like Pirates of the Caribbean prison. It's more like you're in a holding cell and Kylo Ren's coming for you. And they're mixing the mix of animatronics that are slightly moving, the mix of the movie-like sets, the mix of the actors who are telling you, their purpose is to find out how many in your party. Yeah. But they're all like super serious and they don't want you filming.
How many in your party so we can lock you all up.
Exactly. And so I love how everyone was getting into character, and that really what sells it. It takes it to that next level when the employees are really, in the moment, acting like it. Because I was messing with them. I said, I'm not going to talk. You can't make me talk. And they're like, we have ways of making you talk. That's great though, because then
like as a guest, you get to act. You get to be part. You feel like you have some emphasis toward the action.
Right. And once you are in that holding cell and Kylo Ren has a moment with you, something happens and there's a resistance person on the inside trying to get you out of here. And you're on a vehicle, as you see here, with a little droid driving you around. And what makes this so different of an experience is that Kylo Ren is coming after you. This is the first time. We've had Star Wars rides before. Yeah. And I think in these other Star Wars rides, it's always a side quest where, something went wrong and you happen to be next to some of the people who are, no, you are in the middle of it. Kylo Ren is hunting you down, and you're being like helped by the actual stars of the movie. On all these surprise moments where you're like, oh my God, it's Finn.
Yeah, it feels like you're not as much of a passenger. Like Star Tours, by definition, you're a passenger. In this case, maybe it begins a little bit like a passenger because their intention is to get you to a place, but then along the way, it's
but you're really up close with these animatronics, right? And you have Poe talking to you, and so when you add up all the time in this experience from the point of Rey giving you your mission to the end, you're looking at 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
But the actual ride in a vehicle part, which has several different components, it's not just it's trackless. The ride itself is probably about 5 minutes, but it's also new technology. It's trackless, so you don't know where you're going, hence adding to that illusion of like, oh no, something's happening. There's another car next to you doing something totally different, so both of you are whipping around in different places, so you can't tell where you're going next.
Yeah.
And it has a couple different vehicle elements where it's not just driving, but it may hook into a motion simulator and also a drop element.
And while this ride sounds so great, did they give additional information to you about the lines? Because that's where things suddenly take a turn. It's a bit like, oh, how long would I be waiting for them?
It is insane to try to go now and get in. It's not just a long line. They have this new system that is like it's like a virtual queue, they call it, where you really have to be in the know to know how to get a spot in the virtual queue. Like the park may open at 8 or 9 o'clock, but people are showing up hours early and using an app to say, I'm here, I like to wait in a virtual queue. And I'll say, okay, you're in boarding group 18, you're in boarding group 32, 64. Come back at this time. And then by the time the park opens, so far, it's only been a week, but all the boarding groups have been gone. So I feel like if you're average mom and dad coming, you really, and you may totally miss out, and hopefully can come back a second day and try this whole game of coming at 6 or coming at 5 in the morning to try to get a boarding group. I follow a lot of enthusiasts on Twitter on Disney who have been doing this, and just today alone, I think all the boarding groups were taken up before the park opened. So you have to get there early.
When I went to the Galaxy's Edge in September, but in Florida, to be fair, at that point, a version of the park had been open since the spring in California, so the Millennium Falcon buzz had died down a little bit. But when I had showed up at the beginning, lines were still upwards of an hour, 2 hours on a Monday in the middle of September when school is in session. So I ducked into their singles line. They thankfully had a few times, and then by the afternoon it dived down. But this early, it sounds like the demand is going to be so difficult, especially when you can't necessarily see the line, or unless you're in the know on Disney Parks app stuff, you might miss your chance thinking you have a shot coming in at like 9 in the morning.
Right. And they haven't done this before in Florida, so it's a new way of handling it. I don't see any single rider options, but with the Falcon, if you're going, do the single rider, because it's a very long wait still. And yeah, I wonder if that's going to change in time. If it's just going to be a normal like walk up situation, but I think because of the high demand, it's that way now.
And it's also, there's always like first ride jitters. Like on the day of, I saw a few headlines about the ride like breaking down, but of course it's a physical moving contraption. Of course it breaks down.
You're seeing this a lot, especially with something so complicated, where any new ride, even at Universal, Hagrid had a new ride that was down a lot and still is down often, where like there are moments where the ride goes down. I think that's why they're doing boarding groups. I was in the ride as media at a time where they had to keep starting and restarting a door element. Like I was watching them try to problem solve on like the day before it even opened. And they're like, oh, just reset it. And they kept trying to like open and close the door before they let us in the car part. So, and there were other media people I know who said that they were evacuated because they just couldn't get it going again. And what's interesting is that they add a couple elements to even the evacuation, where if your ride is stalled, normally you hear the spiel, keep your hands and arms inside. But instead, they kind of keep you in the story where Finn is yelling, why aren't you moving? You got to get going. And your droid is acting a little different, like a little worried that like he's going to get shot at, So they like try to, make the story keep going, even if there are technical glitches. But yeah, this is going to be something that they have to work out, I'm sure, with there's so many elements.
What I also want to ask you about, because about the end of your video, you had such an emotional reaction to the ride, and I was reading the YouTube comments. People were very positive about it. So getting positivity on YouTube, thank you, YouTube. But I wanted to get to the key and ask you a bit, like, what do you think brought that out of you from the experience?
All right, I researched a lot about this ride before going in and watched the commercials, and even those things were giving me the shakes because I was just excited. But there were what made this different, and it just kept punching me in the emotional gut of, oh my God, I'm really looking at this. It's what? And it's because as someone who's been also on a lot of rides, they had a lot of elements they haven't seen in the States. Anyone who's been to Shanghai Disneyland might have come across these driverless vehicles or some elements that kind of make this magic happen in the storyline with the mix of animatronics. But we haven't really seen that in Florida yet. And that mixed with these moments of Kylo just turning at you and chasing you constantly, that I actually got tears in my eyes from just being like the pure like joy of it all. And I think what really also got me moved was the aspect that I have a 3-year-old daughter who's into Star Wars now and just kind of understanding it all. And I just saw that, like, oh, she gets to role play and feel like she's on a Star Destroyer running. Like, there's never been something that makes you really feel like you're in the middle of the action. It's always been, I'm on a ride, I'm going to buckle up now, and okay, here, exit through the gift shop. And this is not that.
And one cool thing about the area, apart from the ride, is that even though Rey doesn't have an official meet and greet, Rey, I could tell, like, really reaches toward getting kids into her story. So she'll, like, get kids to be like, hey, can you help Chewbacca with escorting him across the park? Or can you come with me as we try to check out where the stormtroopers are? And it looks like such a really cool way to get, like, small kids into the Star Wars story.
When I was talking about why this would change things, and we'll get into questions right after this, and that's really the key. It is the interactivity. It is the immersion of almost acting mixed with all these elements, to the point where you are living a moment rather than just, visiting and buying the merch. Like you are really living something, and that has to do with all the improv acting happening around you. And I think that is what's going to set this apart and have others kind of realize, oh, if you want to take something to the next level, it's having those rides within a ride. It's having the ride within the wait. It's having the employees be the actors too.
It's not so much personal interaction. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. This is a good time to pause from all the geekery. Let's get into your questions, guys. Let's see if anyone out there in the chat or on Twitter has any comments about Galaxy's Edge, or you have any theories about what will happen next with the franchise or the park, because I did get to talk to some Imagineers about what's next in terms of what I was kind of missing out on. Sound off, and we'll dig into the best questions and do our best to answer them. BVG, what do we have?
So right up front, we got to go ahead and ask everybody out there listening, watching, if you are going to go to Galaxy's Edge, what made you decide yes or no? What good reasons you have for wanting to go and spend a significant amount of money, to be fair. But we're just curious. And, like, for the record, this is not like some weird paid content. We literally just felt like talking about Star Wars today. No. And if you can't tell by the way Mike's dressed, then we're all honest to God fans here. So join in the geekery with us. Join in the collective nerdgasm, if you will. Timothy asks, is there a warning for anyone who's maybe suffers from epileptic issues?
Yes. I believe that was something that my colleague Nick saw, who was my producer on this. I didn't personally get to see it, but I think because there's a lot of blaster fire, and that's one of the cool effects that they pull off. But I would look up on the website the exact warnings. I think some rides do more of a strobe effect. I didn't really see too much of a strobe effect, but I think it's just a lot of things coming at you. Maybe it depends on the person.
Great question, Tim. As always, thanks for joining us. Here's one I want to stem off that. How is handicap accessibility for the features in the Galaxy's Edge?
Oh yeah, I think everything there can be something where you can transfer out of your seat and go into a ride. Then you're able to do it. Or if you can't transfer out of your seat, at least you can see the first part of the whole experience. But yeah, I think these vehicles are like 8-person vehicles, and it's similar to other vehicles where you can transfer out. Although I always wonder how they meet up with you with your wheelchair at the end, because where you exit, it's outside. It's like you start inside a cave and a ship, and then suddenly you're spit out in the land. I'm like, oh, where'd you go? Yeah, so that's kind of a cool effect.
Wow. I mean, I do know from the restaurants. I mean, it's a little bit different accessibility, but they had every kind of meal preference, dietary restriction like noted as a special menu. I think there was a vegan menu, vegetarian menu, non-dairy menu, nut-free menu.
Yeah, I noticed the land has very creative food, and a lot of it was vegan options. So you're seeing that influenced more.
Very like vegetarian, meaty, fruity were like the palettes I noticed. I ate like half the menu there. I couldn't afford the whole menu, to be really honest about it. But like the food was delicious, but it definitely had a specific sort of style and palette in every single
Have you
option.
tried blue milk and green milk?
Yeah, and alcoholic versions, because of course. But they're both tasty. I don't feel as polarizing toward some fans are like only green milk's good, only blue milk's good. They're both good, whatever.
They're fruity. They're like fruity slushies on a hot day.
I did have some complaints about some of the beers were a little too fruit infused for my personal taste because I just prefer hoppy beers, but. Yeah, being creative about it, everything got tweaked in time. I had a really big, it was essentially a giant chicken finger on top of mashed potatoes.
Can I tell you my favorite thing of the whole land was after the ride too? Cantina.
Ooh.
The cantina,
yes.
I just wanted to live inside of that bar. It was a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. And all the bartenders are like yelling and having fun. And there's animatronic wrecks. There's just a lot of good stuff.
They give you only like a 45-minute like appointments, but I just kind of like didn't leave.
I didn't have the beer like you had, but I had like they give you drinks that are really alien like. There one was bubbling violently that I had. Another one, we were with made their whole mouth numb. So there's a lot of fun little things to discover. It's kind of like a tiki bar if a tiki bar was in space.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are selling it to me, and you really didn't have to try that hard. But we got some other really good questions out there. This one's just kind of silly. Is there a hologram in the park similar to Silicon Valley's Russ Hanneman?
I haven't seen that episode of Silicon Valley.
There's definitely holograms in the park. I just don't know the comparison.
The ride waiting area to tell you your story has a hologram of Rey, and it looks legit. Like they pulled it off pretty good. I mean, you can't stick your hand in it. They have it high up on purpose so you can't mess with it because that's your first instinct, right? Like I want to jump in the hologram. But they do have a hologram effect.
Related to that, though, one of my favorite moments was at the very beginning of the day at like 10 a.m. Kylo Ren runs up to a woman who's taping him as he walks by, and he's like, "Are you broadcasting the Resistance? Are you broadcasting the Resistance?" And then he starts giving a message to the Resistance through her phone. You know, they called it a data pad, I believe.
Yeah, data pad. They like you can't have unapproved data pads out. Yeah, because this is the First Order, like, you know, messing around with people. So it's pretty funny. There are some things I would say that were lacking that I think there are areas to grow on. We talk about how there's Kylo Ren and the stormtroopers and Rey running around, but I was in the cantina going, where are the scum and villainy? I need a blue alien somewhere. I need a green fuzzy thing. I need something slimy. And when I asked one of the Imagineers in charge of the land about this, Imagineers is the word they use for people who work at Disney. He said, almost like give it time in a way, because this is something they're looking into and they want to do. But right now, it's in steps.
We should, because as you mentioned, you've talked to Imagineers further. Were there any other hints they gave you about the future while we're here?
Well, one thing that was always pitched in the early pitches of this to people and to press was that you would go into the cantina, and depending on how well you did in the ride of the Millennium Falcon, a bounty hunter might be after you because you messed up the ship. And that never happened. They never had people coming after you. And right now, I think they're exploring having more actors, is what he said. That was the next thing. Another thing that they do for media that they don't do for everyone is they have shows where they have built this land with a lot of, like, how do you put it, places that are raised, a lot of metal workings that are fixed and set with pyrotechnics. So they were showing media this battle between Rey and Kylo Ren, full-on lightsabers flinging and sparks flying. And that's not something that anyone can experience. They also had 2 X-Wings hover with drones. That was something just to kick off for media, to be like, hey, we opened the ride, hooray. But is that coming for everyone?
Yeah.
And I think that is what they're exploring and testing out, because they built it as live working sets to show these adventures if you look up, jumping on the rooftops. But that's like to be continued, I think, as they grow.
Yeah, like the reports of the, I think it was an X-wing drone or something like that. They were
And
building.
it really was just hovering up and going back down again. Is this something that, when I asked, like, are we going to see that drone again? Like, come on, don't just do it for the media. And he just kind of gave me this look and goes, this is something we're testing and exploring, So I think there's room for growth.
So, time.
Yeah, sorry, more questions.
Yeah, let's take one from, there's a little controversy circulating around the chat and on Twitter about costumes and cosplay at the park. Is that a point of contention, and how do they actually regulate that? Specifically, Matthew's asking how you got through security, because I can assume that if you come in full costume, it'd be hard to differentiate you from some of the other extras in full costume out there.
There are rules. Yeah.
Are there?
There are rules. So I went into Galaxy's Edge, and they had a little bit of a shop. You can choose 2 different shops, by the way. There's a shop set up by the First Order if you want to dress like you're a supporter of the First Order. And then there's the local merchants who are selling things that look like things Rey would wear, like your typical dusty, attire. And they also sell Jedi robes, and there's a big sign that says you can't wear Jedi robes. What the rules are, kids can dress however they want to dress. They can put masks on, but you as an adult cannot cover your face. And you can't have something so gargantuan like a Jedi robe where there's a security threat of what's under your robe. That said, they encourage you to walk around the park totally role-playing. I saw folks in that Luke Skywalker kind of gear where it just looked like, you're like Tunic in a way. And people were dressed up with lightsabers. I saw people just all sorts of outfits where they look like they're residents of a planet.
Like you could wear normal clothes that happen to have a lot of the colors and themes of what you want to do.
Or you can look like Han Solo. You can look, but when it comes to like you can have Princess Leia buns if you want, but they just don't want masks covering your face. You can't go as a stormtrooper.
Probably no capes, I would imagine.
Right,
About Lando now, I'm like, yep, no capes probably.
Well, it's just really about the security of like having a big Jedi robe and covering up, and they can't see what's going on, and they don't want. And Jedi robes are very foolable, right? Like you put a robe on, people think like, oh, hey, is that an actor in the park? So this happens also outside of Galaxy's Edge. Like you can't go dressing like a full-on Disney princess and fool kids, but you can be inspired by it, But little kids can do whatever they want. Like I saw a kid who was 2 years old, full Kylo Ren outfit, and the stormtroopers were following him around. So I love that improv interaction. Of course, the parent did that on purpose to get great video, but
That's interesting. I did kind of wonder if there was a security concern of somebody like trying to game the system and collect a paycheck just for showing up as a stormtrooper. So what you're telling me though is that there are no younglings running around in costume for Anakin to come slaughter.
I think I had heard a report somewhere that I think that word is even like banned or just discouraged from cast members.
Really?
Yeah, I need to double check that, but I think they like really are downplaying that particular thing.
Well, like they wanted the cast members to have their own stories, and one little fun thing is that with the Baby Yoda mania, they sell these little Yoda plush dolls. The whole point of what the things they sell is that it was made by a local, so it looks hand stitched, and it doesn't really look like Yoda. It just looks like a creature that looks like Yoda. So you could wrap it around in a little like ball of fabric and make it look like Baby Yoda. And that's what they did in one of the stores. They had a little fun and put a Baby Yoda up on display. But I went and it was taken down, and I said, what happened to the child that was here? And he goes, basically it's in, while talking, like it didn't fit with the storyline of Batuu. And so they kind of were told to take it down for the media event. I was like, no, but people were still buying Baby Yodas. I bought a Yoda that looks like Baby Yoda. I bought one, put it in my backpack, and everyone was going crazy. You can bring them into the cantina. Cantina can be for kids too, apparently. They, more milk and cookies than,
They had a lot of
bone
cookies.
broth.
They had some really good cookies in there, actually.
Okay, we are running really tight on time. In fact, we're probably going too far, but we can't resist a couple more questions. Everyone can assume this is going to be expensive, but Bridget, put a price tag on it.
Oh boy. Okay, so people have criticized Galaxy's Edge for being kind of a cash grab situation because of how much of the land is about buying stuff. You want a lightsaber? That's an experience. I didn't get to do that, but that's like $200. You want to make your own droid? You're looking at $50 to $100 again, right?
I didn't
Something like
buy
that.
any merch at all. I like the food alone blew my budget, and I couldn't afford any toys at all.
Right, and then a ticket for a day is over $100, like maybe 120 to 110 somewhere. It depends on the day you go, and not to mention hotel costs. So yeah, you are looking at a pretty expensive vacation, but and to experience the land fully, you're going to want to buy all that stuff. You want it's part of the shops, it's part of eating it and living it and buying the blue milk, and that's what makes it fun. But I had a Uber driver who was like, I hate it because I'm not into Star Wars, but I don't want to buy all these things. But I think that extra ride really brings it home. So even if you don't buy everything, that ride makes it worth it versus having it without the ride.
Especially if that's an experience included in the park ticket anyway.
Right.
Like that really nails into Star Wars.
And then there's the whole hotel coming. Oh lordy, that's going to be like a cruise experience, So that's going to be for super fans too.
Now, that's the cruel reality of it. I mean, you're paying for a massive experience. Did you really expect a discount? It'll be something for at least me worth saving up for someday because I really do want to experience that.
They kept asking me when I go to the shops to buy gifts because I was just buying Christmas gifts. They were like, "Do you have any credit reducers?" And what they mean is if you're a pass holder, you get a discount. I think of 10%.
Oh my God.
And I was like, "No, a credit reducer," because everything's in credits and never dollars, So they really keep role playing everything.
Did they keep when you were there? Were the menus still in Star Wars names, or
that was a criticism, and that went back. So there was this thing where all the words are like, would you like to eat, the tip yip and the, what's some other Ronto wraps?
Yeah.
And there was this criticism that they went to saying in bigger font, baked chicken, and then in tiny font, tip yip. And people were like, no, we want to role play. And so they kind of switched it back and made it so that you could see both clearly for people who just don't know what these don't want to role play as much, But yeah, I'm glad they brought that back. I was kind of upset about the menus. I think we as nerds need that role play.
The character's cool, but it's also like people do want to know for their allergen's sake quickly what it is. So it's like
Yeah.
balancing that out is a tough one.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry. All right, this has been a really great summation overall. The one takeaway, you did mention the Uber driver was like, ugh, I'm not interested, and that's fine. Do you think, in your experience, Bridget, and try to put aside your fandom right now, and we gotta get unbiased and objective, do you think the experience would be enjoyable to somebody who isn't a total Star Wars nut?
I think it is impressive visually with what they built. If you like the art of seeing something like the art of walking past this land and all the shops and the Millennium Falcon, they made it so at least in Florida, when you walk in, you can't see anything else but two. And if every cast member is wearing a different outfit, like they're really living there. So if you can appreciate art and what it takes to make a story, and you're just a casual fan, I think that's a lot of fun because you don't like in the Millennium Falcon. I do not know who the guy is, the smuggler run guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. The name escapes me right now too, unfortunately.
Right.
But he's an animatronic.
Right, he's an animatronic, and he's from like the cartoon series, and I don't watch the cartoon series.
He puts you on missions.
But it's still kind of fun and silly, and I know the general gist of everything else. So you don't need to know everything to still appreciate that. But if you do know everything, there's a lot of gems to see. Like I saw Mandalorian armor in the shop hiding in the corner, So there's things to see if you're a fan, and if you're not, I think it's just kind of cool to see a living, breathing, world.
What I saw a lot of people get into, and it was clearly beyond just like Star Wars fans. There's a game in the park where you scan QR codes and then you do little tangram puzzles. And a lot of people were playing the tangram puzzles. And the reward to the tangram puzzle, if you're fully playing it out, is you get different ranks. And I think I'd made myself like first order sergeant because I kept doing those missions.
You could do bad things, you could do good things, and cause chaos in the land or help the resistance. And I didn't go into that as deeply. But yeah, if you're waiting in line for a long time, it's something to do.
And a lot of people just liked a lot of people simply like the tangrams because it helps you pass the time on various lines if you build them up and then just kind of solve them.
We are so going on so late, but thank you for having patience with us.
Thank you.
Again, it's hard not to just get Fanny. I probably should not have said it that way. To have such intense fandom.
Yes.
Oh God, now I'm screwed. That's on the internet.
Fandom.
Whatever. It's been really fun. I did want to remind everybody tomorrow is our last show of the 2019 season. We'll be shutting down until we return first week of January in 2020, live from the stage at CES. So we'll see you all there. But come back tomorrow. We're going to do a little bit of a year in review recap kind of thing. It's been a blast so far. Lots of new fans, a new platform, new format. Still experimenting with lots of stuff. Looking forward to the future. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. But until then, Bridget, take us on home.
All right. We'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and ring that little notification bell if you haven't already done so that you can join us weekday mornings and be part of the show. And also, feel free to head down to the show description. You can find links to today's stories and every place you can subscribe to the audio podcast if you'd rather take the show on the go because you're busy. For the Daily Charge, I'm Bridget Carey.
And I'm Mike Sorrentino.
Thanks for watching us.